Welcome back to Optimize Health, where we're making easy, healthy, and delicious meals. Today we're going to do the first in a series of videos to cover a multitude of topics on diet and frequently asked questions about things like cholesterol, keto versus calorie restriction. So I want to jump right into it. You should talk to your doctor, healthcare provider, or veterinarian to see if any of these recipes, suggestions, or contents of these videos are right for you. Nothing contained in these videos are intended to be taken as medical advice. Use at your own risk. I'm going to give some brief information up front because we need to understand to further discuss the hormone hierarchy in the body. And we're going to start with oxytocin being the dominant hormone, and it controls cortisol. And cortisol then controls insulin. And insulin then controls the sex hormones. These are really important, especially in women, because we cycle and we're very sensitive to changes of different levels of hormones throughout our cycles. So as you know, oxytocin is like the cuddle hormone. You want to increase your oxytocin to lower your cortisol. And you can do things like spending time with family and friends, petting your pets, doing things that you enjoy, reflecting, being grateful and mindful. And when it comes to cortisol, I did want to discuss some of the challenges that, a stressful lifestyle, living in the modern world, and then also the calorie restrictive diet, how that can increase our body's perception of stress, and it's trying to survive. It thinks we're starving, and it can increase adrenaline and cortisol. And since we know that cortisol is dominant over insulin, we know that we may be affecting our metabolism. And in this case, cortisol can increase our body's storage of fat, particularly the fat cells around the abdomen are hyper reactive and sensitive to cortisol, and they will grab onto fat and then they won't want to let it go in the presence of cortisol. So it's very important to try to lower and control our stress as best we can. Sleep adequately, emotional and even physical stress where we're working out too hard. All of these things can bump up the cortisol. And if we also focus on increasing oxytocin, that can help to put these things in balance. Because with insulin controlling our sex hormones, it's important to be able to get the whole hierarchy of hormones under control. So I wanted to talk a little more about calorie restriction because people still are confused, it seems, in the sphere of dieting, and they think that calorie restriction or low carb or keto or any of these diets are all the same. There's definitely differences, particularly when we're talking about all these hormones. And women in particular are much more sensitive to these things with the hormones than say men, because they just don't have as many to worry about, and they don't have the cycles to worry about. So you probably assume, and correctly, that this channel is a low carb channel because I've chosen that works best for me. I think that people should learn and see what may work best for them. In general, probably people are going to benefit from lower carb. That's not too extreme, and certainly from reducing like high processed food intake. So with calorie restrictive diets, the reasons that I'm a little concerned include the higher stress from just not having enough energy intake. And you don't need to suffer to lose weight. You could do low carb and eat plenty, feel satisfied, sleep well, and still lose weight. High carbs on the calorie restrictive diet is another issue because of insulin and the irregular patterns. If we're eating all day on calorie restrictive diets because we're always hungry, because we always have cravings, because we don't get enough food ever, then we're also having insulin spike and dip and spike and dip. And besides feeling the stress from that and having mood issues potentially, and just feeling like you're crashing and not having energy, this will also it just increases stress on the body's metabolic system, and we increase the free radical and oxidative damage that's done when we're burning a lot of carbs. processed carbs come with all sorts of other junk, and they also tend to have a higher glycemic index to spike insulin worse than like nature's carbs, which are any vegetables or fruits that are whole foods that are unprocessed. The other things I want to touch on in future episodes include why grains can be detrimental, why seed oils or these highly processed cooking oils and dirty oils can be detrimental, and then also we'll touch more on low carb, intermittent fasting, and carb cycling. Please let me know what you think, any questions or comments that you have, suggestions for more topics, and please like, share, and subscribe.